and welcome to the Raw Preview Podcast. I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture, joined by the Dadley Boyz of WhatCulture, Michael Hamflett and Michael Sidgwick, to look ahead to tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from, for daily wrestling podcasts, where we not only review Raw and Smackdown, but also the Wednesday Night War between AEW and NXT, pay-per-views, we have interviews, roundtable discussions, and a roundup of the week, complete with a bloody good quiz, of course, on WrestleCulture. But as I said, joined by Michael Hamflett and Michael Sidgwick to look ahead to Raw tonight, a night in which we're apparently set to see a divorce happen live on Raw.
It's not Smackdown, is it? It'll be all right. It'll be okay.
Is that the new tagline for Raw? Well, at least it's not Smackdown.
This Rusev and Lana thing stopped getting YouTube hits, didn't it? So that was the point at which Vince McMahon appeared to get bored with doing dramatic stuff. Did they have a good week? I forgot to check. Did they have a good week last week? Is this turned around again for them that they want to do this stupid stuff? Because this is when this angle performs best, isn't it? We can't just was that thumbnail of Lana bent over slightly getting arrested? Did that get them 8 million on YouTube? So it's
back in the game.
Yeah, we need to get used to doing the stupid stuff again. Oh, it's better than just the matches. I
should point out, this is the TLC go-home show.
Yes. I mean, why get divorced on telly?
Why do any of this on telly?
I don't really know.
It makes you ask bigger questions.
I don't have a great deal of experience in divorce, thankfully. But I assume there's quite a lot of boring legal stuff. Is this just going to be, right, we've done all that backstage and all you need to do is sign on the dotted line, presumably?
It's like that episode of The American Office where Michael Scott declares bankruptcy. So you can't just declare a divorce because you say the words divorce on national telly. That's just not how it works.
Write it on a table and whoever goes through it. If Russo goes through it, that's it, divorce confirmed. You're going to save that fella in a cell.
Possibly. I mean, if we're being generous with our objective, critical hats on, it is getting over in arenas. And apparently, per the YouTube hits, whether or not this translates to actual Nielsen ratings, doesn't seem to be, a thing. It's the same with Alexa Bliss and a bloody towel on. It's if you put Lana in a compromised position on YouTube, a pervert's probably going to click on it. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a compelling enough storyline for people to go, oh God, I'm going to see her other arse cheek this week. I'm going to have to find out.
I saw a thing, I think it was on Reddit Squared Circle about Bobby Lashley, about how ridiculous when he's in the thumbnail, how ridiculous his YouTube numbers are. He's arguably one of the most watched superstars on Monday Night Raw because he's had all this stuff with Lana and Rusev and that bit where Braun Strowman blow up a stage.
Right, explosions, blonde women like Lana. He's also had... what else is he? An arm wrestling contest.
And look at him. It always comes back to this with Bobby Lashley. Look at him. I'd click that. I'd watch that if I was allowed to, but I can't because they put him in these stupid angles. Look at him.
Speaking of stupid angles, let me read you the sort of blurb that WWE have given ahead of tonight's episode for this divorce. It's finally happening, people. After weeks of psychological warfare.
That's
marital strife. Extraneous make-out sessions, restraining orders and arrests, Rusev and Lana will finally divorce on this week's Raw. And then they go into more detail.
Stupid.
The final line I really like. Strap in and get ready.
He's getting pegged.
Yeah. That's right.
Foreshadowing.
So how...
Jerry Lawler gets the binoculars back out.
Is it going to be some sort of... Presume it has to be some sort of build to TLC, this, no?
They're going to do some chat. He's going to get told how, he was an oversexed madman. And as someone pointed out on Twitter, I forget the woman's name, is it not incredibly problematic that Lana said out loud to the television audience, Rusev wanted all this sex and I didn't want to have it? Is that not deeply ugly stuff?
Of course it is. It's Vince McMahon's writing of a male-female dynamic, isn't it?
Yes. It's something that hasn't been said enough. And I've got very little interest in this whatsoever. Basically, what's going to happen is they're going to do some chat. She's going to say some horrible things. Rusev's going to get upset. He's going to kick Lashley in the stomach or beat him up. And on his big, broad, rippling back that should be used to carry actually good programs and not soap opera nonsense, he can sign a contract. But It's not for a divorce. It's for a match at TLC this Sunday. And poor you, Bobby Lashley, you gigantic colossus. It's going to be a tables match. Because there's going to be a table where like the divorce papers are. But what a shame, because actually Bobby Lashley is gigantic and more than capable of putting someone through a table, which is how the storyline's probably going to end.
So
because happy endings don't happen in this company.
You're predicting a tables match. I would suggest a ladder match, although how that would work with the divorce contracts so that they seemingly both want.
It's Lana in a shark cage. That's why we want a ladder match, isn't it? An actual woman hanging above the two. Where, like, again, as Cedric sort of points out, if Rusev wins, he gets to claim her. Like, he gets to keep her regardless of if she wants to be there or not. Yeah, the table match feels right because they just haven't. Is there an obvious table match in this card at the moment? There's not. There's barely a card at the moment, is there? So
There's never really any obvious tables, ladders, and/or chairs or stairs matches on these cards.
Weeks. I can't get away from this thing being weeks. How many times have we seen wrestlers go to counselling? Dr. Shelby's had work from people that have just had a fallout, and these two are going to get divorced after weeks. We've not even had that skit yet. We've jumped 50 stages in this ridiculous story because there's a pay-per-view on Sunday, and they've got to get it wrapped up before Christmas. Rusev's over again. He's going to get number 27 in the Rumble, and people are going to fantasy book him for 5 minutes before he gets thrown out by Bobby Lashley. 50-50.
Yeah, Rusev's going over at TLC, and then for no apparent reason, Bobby Lashley is gonna get his win back at Royal Rumble in the match, no doubt. Right, you mentioned TLC there. One of the big matches that people are speculating is Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch versus the Kabuki Warriors, potentially for the Women's Tag Team Championships in a TLC match. Now, one thing that we need for that to happen is Becky Lynch and Charlotte to reunite, even though that already happened about 3 weeks ago or whatever, but also Becky Lynch to return. Do you see that happening tonight?
Probably. That's how they're going to set up the match. I'm going to take my critical hat off for a moment. I'm really looking forward to this match. I really am. I've been really impressed by the Kabuki Warriors post-heel turn on the strength of that improbably brilliant match last week. Charlotte looks like she's got the bit between her teeth again. I feel like if she has more performances like that, she can recover a 2018 form in which she was just incredible. Putting the critical hat back on, this bloody stuff makes no sense whatsoever. Give me a reason why Becky Lynch would want to rescue Charlotte Flair in the event that there's some kind of kerfuffle. She gets her ass handed to her by the Kabuki Warriors. What's the impetus for, this is not a necessarily rhetorical question, what's the impetus for Becky Lynch to come out and save her?
Well, there is an impetus there that I can see, but it is such a roundabout way of getting there. I don't see the relationship with Charlotte and Becky, considering what we've seen throughout 2019, but the argument could be made, well, I remember last year's TLC with you, Asuka, and we've got unfinished business and championships and what have you. Why that would mean she wants to team specifically with Charlotte for this, I have no idea. And as we seem to repeat every single week, where's Natalya in all this?
Who cares?
Yeah, nobody cares.
I realise that, but by the letter of the law, she submitted one half of the tag team champions.
Taking my Mark hat off because it's almost always on. I always admire when wrestlers get things over by force of will, even if the idea is stupid or one-dimensional, which in the case of the Kabuki Warriors, this absolutely was. And yet they've done it because they're
Asian
hard-working.
pollen.
Basically, yeah. Like hard-working, believable characters, believable matches. They've put effort into all the little things like the gear when two singles guys are thrown together. It's just a believable act that people wanted to invest in, and here we are. Putting my Mark hat back on. None of it makes any sense. But the match will be great. So maybe just, this is one of them ones to just revel in the poster when it finally gets shown, the graphic when it gets shown on Raw tonight, and just hope that Charlotte finds that form. Becky has the fire in her belly that she's kind of tweeted saying that she's not very happy being in the tag division. But normally wrestling has this weird thing where when like wrestlers want to prove Vince McMahon wrong, they end up sort of proving him right. I'll show him by having the best match of the night in the situation that I don't want to be in. So the match will probably bang as a result. So like net positive to all of this, I think.
Yeah, it completely
On Sunday, couldn't care less about tonight.
Yeah.
Completely backwards. But like you say, last week, that insane elbow whilst Charlotte Flair had Asuka in the figure eight, I thought was phenomenal. Right, let's move on and talk a little bit about something else that happened on last week's episode of Monday Night Raw. Kevin Owens got kidnapped. He got dragged away by the Authors of Pain and subsequently just tweeted, "Don't worry, guys, I escaped."
They didn't rip my pubes out.
What happened there? How are they going to explain Kevin Owens escaping from two of the baddest guys on Monday Night Raw?
It's just, right, there's a plot hole. There's several plot holes just lying around any given arena that Raw takes place. And just invariably, well, in it I go.
That was the Bray Wyatt noise.
In it I go. Like, just think logically that they didn't do this, but think logically of the storyline that's been closed off with the idea of AOP dragging Kevin Owens' prone body backstage. Like, what? He's tweeted that, it's fine, I just got away and just made my flight and surprised my family just to have his cake and eat it too on social media. That's fine. But in canon, in storyline, are the road buddies now? Have they kept him Scott Steiner style in a box like he used to do with his freaks? Are they just... Is he in their suitcase now?
I think they're going to have a GTV footage like inserted into Raw where like the Authors of Pain are going to do something untold and horrible to him, and then you're going to hear this voice in the background saying, "Let him go, guys, yeah." And then the implications are going to be that it was Seth that said, "Not tonight, let him off tonight," but they're not going to make it abundantly clear that Seth's working with the Authors of Pain. Something stupid like that, because Owens has really kind of knackered this one. I think we're all probably big fans of Kevin Owens and want him to succeed in spite of the obvious barriers that are placed in front of him by WWE. But this is that wrestler Twitter thing getting in the way of the pro wrestling again, isn't it? Like when Daniel Bryan disappeared under the ring last week, we could kind of laugh about it because it's Bray and he's into this spooky stuff. So yeah, that he's going to take him to hell or something. But they've just dragged a man off the stage for a week? Oh, nowhere at all. I've gone home and seen my family. So it needs addressing. For the benefit of for the benefit of the Owens-Rollins angle, which has been pretty good, I believe it does. Yeah.
Right, okay, that's a good point. It's the sort of program that doesn't completely reward cynicism and facetiousness. You can actually believe in the character dynamics. You like the fact that these two have been put in each other's orbit. Yes, I agree. Remove the banter.
I'm not saying we're going to get it, but like I think it deserves it.
Just going to come out, isn't he?
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned the Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens stuff. How do you see that going this week? And a lot of speculation, obviously, about Seth Rollins' perceived heel turn. No official, definitive turn as of yet. And obviously all these links to the Authors of Pain. Do you see, what with TLC being just around the corner, the heel turn happening tonight? Do you see them holding back on it? Is it something they're going to wait till even like the Royal Rumble? How's this going to play out?
I don't know, right? Because it feels like this card needs a proper banger of a singles match, especially considering the closest thing to it, which again illustrates the state we're in at the minute, was The Fiend versus Daniel Bryan. They've bait and switched that with Bray Wyatt versus The Miz. So I was thinking before SmackDown on Friday, they could prolong this by orchestrating some kind of AOP versus Rollins and Owens match. Because that sort of features into the storyline, it's germane to the storyline. But I don't know if they'll be able to help themselves given the fact that they've lost Bryan for whatever reason.
I think they pull the trigger on the Rollins turn tonight. If maybe, again, as you say, you can't put a label on it so much, but something that kind of marks Rollins out as a heel in time for Sunday, because he's going to get booed regardless, isn't he? If he was to have a TLC match with Owens now, I don't mean with the stipulation, don't give them gimmicks to work with, they're not there yet, but at the pay-per-view, if they have a match, he's going to get booed regardless. So I think this is the week to just play the hand that they nearly played 2 weeks ago, where the Authors didn't attack Seth, but they did attack Owens. You can be a bit heavy-handed with that this week to just basically make sure the babyface and heel alignments are right on Sunday. The match requires them both to be quite clearly on one side or the other of the fence. And Rollins going into the Royal Rumble season as a heel, I think is far more fascinating than him trying to still defend himself when we all know that's where the story's going. It doesn't feel like a hot shot at this point. I think it's been 2 good weeks.
I was going to say, we often give WWE criticism for a great deal of things, in particular some of the babyface stuff they do, but I mean, they've been phenomenal for heel turns this year, and they've handling this one with Seth rather well.
Yeah, it is now with Hamflet. I don't think it would represent a hot shot to pull the trigger this early, because essentially he's been a heel in everything but designation for several months now. So I think the reason why he turned heel in the first place, or like threatened to turn heel, is to align him with the sensibilities of the audience. So there's no waiting to do. All the character work's been done by himself on social media, so just get on with it. And if you look at their strategy, apparently, of trying to drive last day tickets, network subscriptions, maybe the whole "you're going to get a big match on Sunday" is their version of trying to achieve that. So yeah, maybe they will do the singles match. In fact, I think they will.
How do you see the heel turn going down to make it a very definitive sort of moment?
It's probably got to be with the Authors of Pain again, isn't it? He's got to confirm that he was behind the attack the other week. Not verbally as such, just the clear visual of them all together, his welcoming of them into his new fold. He's maybe, later on you flesh that relationship out somehow. He was critical of the entire Raw roster, treating everyone around that ring as if they were all the people on Twitter that had a go at him over the last 6 months. The Authors had nothing to do with the Survivor Series, so weren't part of that. It's just the visual, isn't it? It's that, like, people love that Shield 2.0 stuff the other week. It's just the visual of the three of them as Raw goes off the air, or as that program goes to break as Raw rolls on. that's probably confirmation enough, I would say.
Best thing they could have done with the AOP, this.
I guess so. It gives them a big profile on Raw. I think looking ahead to Sunday, this word's been drenched in irony, but the presence of AOP at ringside could protect Kevin Owens in defeat. And yeah, I don't know if they can just be hired heavies because that tag division badly needs some kind of refresh. I've pitched AOP versus Viking Raiders for some time. I think it'd be a total hoss battle. I think that'd be really interesting. They tend not to be able to do two concurrent storylines at once, so I'd feel like that would be a missed opportunity. But they could always revisit it. I don't know what's going on here, but it's the good kind of intriguing because it's all kind of in character. If you're Seth Rollins and you feel like you've been let down time and time again by the fans, by your mate who just left you on Smackdown at the mercy of the Fiend, he's probably thinking to himself in character, and it's very rare that I think about these people as characters, like I need some backup here. I need some reinforcement, and yeah, I think it makes sense on a character level.
You mentioned in the past about the Street Profits' possible involvement. Do you see them sort of moving away from that now, or?
It's a cheap 6-man if they want to go there for Sunday because it protects the Rollins-Owens match for another day, doesn't it? I kind of think if they're going to go all the way with Seth, which I believe they will, the singles match makes more sense. I don't think you can turn him and then dilute it by saying, I'm with these guys now, and we'll see you Sunday for a 6-man tag player. It kind of dilutes the whole power of that moment. So all of it looks good, and you could certainly book it as a Raw match tonight where like Seth and the authors are forced together before revealing that actually they are all in it together, but it doesn't feel pay-per-view ready, that one. I think it's a singles match or nothing.
One other thing that has been advertised for tonight's Monday Night Raw is a United States Championship match, Rey Mysterio versus AJ Styles. How do you see this one going? And I sense Randy Orton plays into this one as well.
Indeed, yeah. I wouldn't get your hopes up to experience another banger on the level of, was that last week or the week before? The week before the
title change.
Fabulous match.
Cracking, really
it was such a great tonic to the whole idea of WWE pushing guys you don't care about in front of silent crowds. It was the opposite of that, and all the better for it. I just think with TLC on Sunday and various storyline threads to bring together, you're just going to get more of a pseudo angle than a match itself. We're going to get AJ Styles versus Randy Orton on Sunday, and I'm telling you, I might skip it.
Is there no way that they make that a triple threat?
I review the every WWE pay-per-view in the star ratings article on WhatCulture.com. At this point, I'm so assured of the type of match and the type of energy Randy Orton brings to his matches that I'm tempted to just skip it, waste my 15 minutes because it's going to be boring, and I'm just going to write something.
I think you could pre-write it.
Something along the lines of, Randy Orton, structured the match logically. It was fought at the usual Randy Orton pace. Didn't really get over in front of the crowd. It went 14 or 15 minutes. The finishing sequence was good because people like the RKO. They like anticipating the RKO. Usually works towards it in a way that, it's quite crafty. You can't see it coming. And the last 2 minutes came alive. Skip to the end. AJ Styles went over through interference from the club. That's a review.
2.25 stars.
2 3/4 stars.
2 3/4.
You have to be a little bit gentlemanly about it and enjoy the psychology of the craft because, objectively, he can work a match. I'm just so sick of the man. And he's signed for another 5 years.
I feel quite into AJ Styles when he hangs out in the Ray community, but Orton mixes into that and ruins it. He always ruins everything he's in. We've talked about this before. Some of the angles are fun. Some of the Twitter cracks great. The match is always the worst bit.
And then the bell rang.
You can't get excited about the run-up. No matter, I thought the Orton, probably biased with being there in person, but I thought the Orton-Drew interactions were quite fun the other week to set up Ray winning the title later on in the show. And again, I keep coming back to what would that lead to? Oh my God, a Randy Orton Drew McIntyre match in a pay-per-view, no thanks. He's an impossible wrestler to support, and I'm sure there's at least one person in our office that's having some sort of aversion to what we're saying right now. And Randy Orton's got these fans, but I think they're fooled by the RKO. I'm sure they must be because they don't make any noise for the previous 15 minutes before he hits it.
It's like, just don't wait. Don't worry, it's coming. Here it is.
Yeah. The comparison I always make is that both John Cena and Randy Orton were very much consistent with one another. That's why WWE tried against defiance of silence to put them in a big match at WrestleMania. And yet in 2015, John Cena was on such incredible form. He leveled up to the new generation in a new style, and Randy Orton's just completely bantered it off, which is funny on social media, but the problem is I have to actually watch him. So yeah, as it pertains to Raw specifically tonight, he will interfere. This is how they book programs.
Yeah, I can say in summary, Rey Mysterio retains.
RKO's for all lads. Yeah.
We should mention we did the SmackDown preview on Friday, of course, and I'd like to revel in our little victories, and we nailed it when it comes to the big dog food, and that god-awful King Corbin storyline. Your thoughts?
It's the Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard show. That in itself was a spoiler for bollocks.
Yeah, it's. I don't want to celebrate it because it was so crap. Like
Not food, mate.
We talked on the podcast about how it's a tough show to keep up with if you happen to be busy on a Friday. I can't get a chance on a Saturday. I don't want to divert the Raw podcast too much, but I forgot again, like to get up early in the morning to watch SmackDown, and the first thing I saw on my Twitter refresh
was the dog food.
Was the dog food.
The dog food.
And I was just, why now would I work backwards through the 2 hours that led to the dog food? And you have to, because, we take, we had to take pride in our work, and you're watching it back and you think, but again, the dog food is just at the front of your brain. So everything else on SmackDown, gets a pass for me because of the dog food.
I mean, it looked disgusting, but at the same time, all I can think is, where's your pals?
Yeah.
I thought that.
No friends. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
But it's...
Baron Corbin had hands under the ring, disembodied hands supporting him. Roman Reigns couldn't get an actual full body to come and run out and help him.
Was it Bobby Roode, the hands?
It was never made clear. I thought it was Daniel Bryan from last week, just really scrambling around.
But yeah, we were right. It's nice to be right. Nice to take a victory lap. But at the end of the day, I'm thinking, whenever you watch NXT or AEW, you see every single alliance beautifully considered. Everyone's whereabouts is totally accounted for. On NXT, people are getting over by being friends in opposition to the Undisputed Era. People are getting profiled because that's what factions do. WWE Baron Corbin must have the best poppers, the best jokes, because he's just got mates up the arse. Everyone loves Baron Corbin on the heel side of things. He has so many of these weird pseudo alliances, and yet Roman Reigns, the message I'm being sent, and I'm not being facetious, is that he's boring and lame to be around, and no one likes him because no one ever saves him. So why am I bothered about him? Christ, he must have knee crack whatsoever, Roman.
Just established that Roman's new best mate is Shorty G, and they couldn't. Vince and Bruce would have loved the idea of Shorty G running down and then trying to reach the handcuffs and not being able to get them, jumping like a dog when the postman's at the door trying to reach those handcuffs and not being able to get them. They couldn't even craft comedy that undermined one of the other baby faces. Nobody cares. I mean, someone ran a podcast on Nobody Cares, but nobody cared.
Well, let us know your thoughts ahead of Monday Night Raw tonight in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. Plus, let us know your thoughts on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. And watch there, follow all three of us. You can follow Michael Hamflett at
Michael Hamflett.
Follow Michael Sidgwick at
Sidgwick.
Follow me at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at WhatCultureWWE, as I said. For now, though, enjoy Monday Night Raw. My thanks to the Dadley Boyz. Thank you for watching, and we will see you soon.